Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello people and welcome to Footy Judge Mo. I'm your host Judge Mo and this is the Rational League but with a little bit different panel, of course different time. We got Dan here, of course, after a while, he's back. We got Rack, Mr. Millionaire Rack from his rooftop penthouse in the highest point of England, right there, of course. So big up everybody that is here. TK is here, ripping Arsenal as well. You like him, you hate him. It's different a little bit. It's different opinions. And we're going to be joined by Joe as well. Guys, the algorithms are not helping us today. The algorithms are very slow on YouTube, by the way. So I need you guys to help me and hit that like button. Put a comment. Of course, where are you tuning from in the chat? So hit that like button. Let's get to 100 likes right off the bat. And hit that like button if you're here. Subscribe to the channel. I'm actually now officially less than 1,000 subscribers from 40,000 subscribers, which is actually pretty damn good. You know, when I started this channel, we're very close, people. We're absolutely very close. Just help us. Hit that like button. The usual talk. Is Isak going to join Liverpool? Newcastle are desperate. Absolutely desperate. Nwaneri signs a new contract for Arsenal. Should he start over Odegaard? Should he be given more game time since he now signed a new contract? Will Arsenal sign Eze? What do Arsenal need? Isak is close to Liverpool, but will Newcastle sign a striker? There's only about 3 weeks left in the window. The Premier League starts, believe it or not, in less than a week, next Friday. So basically just 1 week left or less, depending where you are in the world, of course. And Chelsea is in a crisis with Colwill being injured. All the fucking hype that I built for Chelsea over the summer, picking up Chelsea. The defense got better. Colwill is getting better. Maresca's cooking. And all this stuff has just collapsed because of an unfortunate injury for Colwill. They are targeting Guehi, though. They're targeting Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace, who's going to play tomorrow. But Guehi, Eze, Crystal Palace, they're going to play Liverpool Sunday in the Community Shield. They're going to play Sunday in the Community Shield. Chelsea are closing a deal for Garnacho for 40 million. Man United want 50. Chelsea going to pay 40. We know that Chelsea win in these circumstances all the time. But we'll see how it goes. And we're going to talk about maybe a different perspective if Joe joins us from Leeds' perspective about the lower, not the top 6 teams. How do they see the Newcastle deal for Isak? Where do we start? We have to start with Chelsea, though, right? Colwill injury.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a Liverpool fan, there's no love lost between Chelsea and Liverpool, but I've said over the last few years, Chelsea have actually built a squad which is actually quite likable, and
Likeable. The fucking
Colwell
assholes.
is one of
Majority of them.
Col-
What is he talking about?
but
Enzo
Colwell,
Fernandez is an asshole. Kukurea is an asshole. Like, what is he
sure,
talking
okay, well,
about?
Cucurella is probably the one who's least likable, but that's also probably why Chelsea fans love him. Um, but Colwell is one of those players who is likable. Palmer is a likable player. They've got
Yeah, I love
likable, and it's unfortunate to see him. It's unfortunate for any player, and before the season's even started, just basically the season's over for him, which is a shame.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, Chelsea must sign a center back. People are telling me they're fine. I don't think they're fine. They need a center back. Hato might start. He's not ready, bro. He's not ready. Chelsea must sign a top. Chelsea must actually abandon the Garnacho talk completely and just try to go for a center back, in my opinion, to be honest. Am I wrong to say that?
Garnacho will be done whether or not a centre back sign. He'll be in the club within the next, 5 days. I don't think it'll take long. I think that deal's pretty much done.
But I don't understand. There is not even one Chelsea fan that is behind this deal, but the board are still going for him.
I don't mind it. I'm going to put my hands up, and I said this in January. I don't get the hate that he gets for what he does on the pitch. I understand what his brother does on social media. I don't think that's acceptable. But as a young kid, I don't think he's that bad. I think the price is obviously inflated, but I also look at the number of players that have left Manchester United that have been sort of quoted as bad eggs, and they've gone on to do quite well. So I don't really mind it. I'm sort of open to seeing how it develops, and I think Chelsea do need options to compete against each other in that left-sided area. So I don't mind.
Not Garnacho for 40 million. With all due respect, I
think
he adds to the squad.
How much he does, because we lost Mudryk.
It doesn't add to the squad at all.
Well,
how much do you think he should go for? How much would he go for?
Me, I think 30. Chelsea, Man United 150. Chelsea are willing to pay 40.
Okay,
sounds like a deal.
Standard.
Yeah, Madueke costs 50.
It's a low risk transfer.
Yeah, but the idiots bought him. But the idiots paid 50. Like,
but he's talented. No, but he is talented. He is talented, and despite, again, no love lost between Liverpool and United, but he has shown glimpses of talent. He's shown glimpses of the potential that he has. Obviously, he hasn't exactly ingratiated himself to United fans, which is, a lot, maybe definitely down to his brother, but I'm sure he has a hand in it. He's a talented player, and for 40 million, it's low risk. If it works, then they could have a 70, 80, 90 million pound player on their hands. If it doesn't, they could probably sell him for 35, 40 in a year or two's time, right?
Yeah.
But
I think that's the thing that reassures me the most, actually, about Chelsea's transfer business is, as much as I might question some of the players coming in, even if they've not worked out, we've been able to offload them for sizable fees, or even fees that allow us to, just write it off and break even. Dewsbury Hall's a prime example.
Yeah. The only thing I would be questioning is... Oh, no, go ahead, Rex.
This is kind of like why I've not changed my opinion on Chelsea's transfer policy, but it is. I've kind of it's dawned on me a little bit that it's just about volume buying and volume buying potential. Because the thing with buying potential is probably at least half of them aren't going to work out. Probably more than that. But Chelsea are volume buying. They're trying to narrow the downside or minimize the downside, and then the ones that work out, they'll sell. The ones that work out, they'll keep, like a Palmer, for example. The ones that don't work out, maybe like a Nico Jackson or whoever, they'll sell on for either break even or decent profits.
Yeah, but we're looking. This is what this business, right? But I'm not looking at Chelsea.
You could argue business. It's not a traditional football approach. It's not a traditional football approach.
I am looking at a football way. Like, I want Chelsea to do well, right? But this is business. What you're saying is perfect if you're running a company. If you're running a football team, you want to get the best player possible to up the level of your team. Am I wrong to say this?
Do you know what, though? What I would say in response to you more, the proof is in the pudding. I agree with what you're saying. But Chelsea, since Clearlake came in and they had this wild, they seem to have settled on a manager now, and the only way they're going is that way. I think a lot of us are saying they'll get top 4 this season, maybe win a trophy, right? They've just done what they did against PSG. Chelsea will just turn around and say to you, well, it's working. We didn't finish 17th and 16th like Man United and Tottenham. We won trophies. We were in the Champions League, you know. So I get what you're saying, 100%. But I also get the point that's just been made about volume buying, because we're seeing them now getting rid of like Chukwuemeka, others going. Ugochukwu's just gone to Burnley and stuff, but. Even some, they're still managing to make profits on, like how they made a profit on, say, João Felix, for example. It's mental. But it's obviously working, whatever they're doing, unfortunately, because...
Why unfortunately?
Well, I'll tell you why it's unfortunate.
Because he's a
then,
Leeds fan.
No, it's
He's a
not
Leeds
even
fan.
that. No, I'll tell you for why.
Why
now,
is he talking? Why, unfortunately, I don't get it.
No, well, I'll tell you for why, because they've set a precedent now, right? So Everton... struggling to bring players in. Everton are down where I'm mixing. They've just sold their women's team. And now all of a sudden they're bringing in Dewsbury Hall. They're bidding for Tyler Diblin. Before that, Moyes is saying, I need more players. Then all of a sudden, the women's team gets sold. And Everton are now buying players. So that's what I'm saying about, unfortunately, what they're doing is working. They're finding the loopholes, which means other clubs will follow suit, because the Premier League can't close the loopholes. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they had a chance
I would be
as well,
questioning
but
with
all
Chelsea,
the other
though.
clubs voted against it. Well,
Yeah, they did. Exactly. Because they're
Kinda
like
crazy.
buzzing, we can do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But isn't it weird for Chelsea to focus on volume signings instead of priority signings? Because I feel like this whole Colwill injury did throw you off a little bit. Maybe it's smarter to focus on players like Gehin or even maybe signings like Xavi Simons, because if you buy someone like Garnacho, what's going to happen with Xavi Simons as well, is my question, because I felt like those two signings will be more important than someone like Garnacho. That's what I would be questioning.
I don't think Chelsea are going to change their transfer strategy for an injury to a player, unless it's one of the biggest players. If it was Cole Palmer or something like that in the team, I think they might sort of go, right, we've got to do something. But I think they're viewing their squad, especially after just bringing in a defender as well, that it's probably okay. I think the one mistake Chelsea might make this season is backing Fofana's fitness again, because it looks like they're talking about him being an option again, and he's still a player they don't want to offload. If he stays fit, Chelsea have an extra centre-back this season. If he doesn't, and they gamble on it again, then I think that might be a mistake in terms of defensive recruitment. But other than that, I look at Chelsea's squad and I think it needed defensive reinforcement this summer without any injuries. We've got one player in. We probably do need another now, because I don't want to see Badashile sort of competing for that place, to be honest with you.
Have you noticed, guys, something that Chelsea don't buy players in a position unless they know they can offload the other player? They know that they're going to sell Jackson. They're targeting strikers. Because they know that they might not be able to offload Chilwell, Chalobah, Badiashile, they're not targeting loads of centre-backs like what they did with the forward lines with Gittins, which actually what Rack is saying is correct. It's like, it's a volume. You got to have that many players on your squad. But that doesn't make someone like Rack at Liverpool scared of Chelsea at all in terms of title contention. But even some of the Arsenal people are not even looking at Chelsea as a rival now in terms of title contention. You're right, Joe. Oh, okay. No, something I don't know what you were doing, but fine.
I was closing the blind so the lighting was better. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no worries. So, but like, if you look at Chelsea, Rack, are you worried about Chelsea at all in terms of like a team?
I still think it's a year too early to consider them title contenders. I think in a year's time, and obviously, look, this injury is going to affect them significantly, and we don't know about Fofana, but what we do know is that he hasn't been reliable injury-wise, and so past performance is potentially an indicator of future returns, as they say. So I don't know. I didn't have them down as challenging. I think the main challenges I had this season were going to be Arsenal and City potentially, although I'm questioning City a little bit. But next season, I thought, you know what, if they do another round, I think João Pedro is going to be a good signing. Delap, I'm not sure, but again, it's so low risk. He's English. 30 million was a bit of a no-brainer for anyone who's kind of in and around top four and maybe, who knows, if he has a really good season, he could easily get maybe easily, maybe not, but he could get 10 to 15 goals, which may make the difference overall between challenging or just being in the top 4.
I think by the end of the season, João Pedro will be the main guy. Not João Pedro, sorry, Delap. Delap will be the main guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's different gravy, me. I think he's different gravy. I think by the end of the season, he'll be number 9.
Can I ask you something, Dan? A lot of some of the Chelsea fans that like on my channel and some of the Chelsea content creators, they actually think that Chelsea can finish higher than what people put them at, like second. Like they don't see other teams better than Chelsea. By the way, I see their point. By the way, I see the point. Statistically, then, underlying numbers last season, Chelsea were not bad. Chances creation, chances conceded, defense-wise, midfield volume, chances created. It was all about the clinical edge of Chelsea. If you look at the underlying number, Chelsea are not far. They were far from Liverpool, but everyone was fucking far from Liverpool. Liverpool, abundance of chances ahead of everyone. The chances conceded very close to Arsenal. So basically, Liverpool last season were better than everyone else. So I see what Chelsea fan, like what some of the Chelsea fans are seeing. Like we really sign people to score goals, and we only struggle there.
Yeah, I think massively affecting that argument, sorry, is Chelsea winning the Club World Cup. I think it changed things a little bit at Chelsea. I think it changed the level of belief in the players. I think winning the Conference League, these players, they got a bit of a boost from it. I think they felt they could, push on. But to go and beat PSG that won that Champions League final in the way that they did, when they were massive favourites to go and win the Club World Cup and looked great throughout that whole tournament, the way Chelsea took them apart in the final, I think will give this group of young players unbelievable confidence. And we know how important that can be in football. So I think that strengthens the argument that if Chelsea take all of that momentum and just go into the season flying, I think that can really carry them. And I think it will do a lot for them. And especially if they've got more players in the team now capable of scoring more goals with better output, because we're moving some of those players on that have struggled for Chelsea in recent years in terms of goal scoring.
Yeah, happy birthday, TK. It's his birthday today, guys. Just
thank you.
Happy birthday, my man. Happy
birthday,
birthday, my man. He's 41 now, so it's fun.
That's your age, Mo. That's your age, Mo.
Not yet. Not yet.
We're not that far yet, guys. We're not that far yet.
Not yet. Not yet. 41. Well, I look 22 though. Yeah, absolutely. But listen,
let me say sorry for being late. By the way, I totally lost track of time. And then you was like, "We're live." Sorry, folks. Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. In my opinion, the Chelsea squad currently, they just need a center back. That Sanchez talk is dead. I think Sanchez is good enough for them. I know that a lot of people don't like him in terms of like mistakes. We spoke about this yesterday with Don. I think he's good. By the way, I don't think he's that bad. He's good with his feet. I think Chelsea can do something this season. What I mean by something is that can actually put pressure. We'll see what Liverpool do with Isak and Wirtz and Ekitike and all these new guys. I think Liverpool are far ahead, but I don't think Chelsea are far from City, to be honest with you. I don't think they're far from City.
I have to disagree with you there, Mo. I feel like Sanchez could be a big factor in why they eventually end up making mistakes or dropping points. I feel like that one game against PSG does not erase all the bad stuff that he's been doing at Chelsea. And I feel like they do need an upgrade in the goalkeeping area if they actually want to properly challenge Liverpool and us at the end of the day. I feel like the best teams in the world always have one of the best keepers, or if not, at least a stable keeper. And I don't feel like I've seen that much stability from someone like Sanchez. He has this tendency to make mistakes and do wild stuff. And I don't feel like Chelsea.
When is the last time you have seen him make an actual mistake?
I mean, in the league, we've still seen it. Yes, they went on a run at the end, but at the end of the day, Chelsea were as a team playing very well. But it doesn't erase the fact that Sanchez can still make those mistakes that he has been doing.
Man. Yeah. Defense wins your titles, isn't it?
No, actually, it's wrong. Arsenal, if that was the case, Arsenal would have won the title. No, offense wins.
It got them really close, though, didn't it? It got Arsenal.
Yeah, but they didn't win the title, though.
But Liverpool also have an awesome defense.
Yeah. And also, Chelsea ended the season as the third best defense, guys.
And look where it got us. It put us back into the top 4. I think for Chelsea, there are two massive factors going into this season. I think defensively, they have to be as good, if not better. I think Sanchez, unfortunately, no matter if he makes mistakes or not, because of his reputation, I think that will live in his teammates' mind that he's capable of doing that at any point. And I think the trust is broken, and I don't really see it repairing. So I think no matter how good he performs, that will always overshadow him, and it only take one mistake to sort of multiply the pressure again. So I think if Chelsea can find an opportunity in a keeper or have their other keepers develop well this season, I don't think his future goes much further than next season. Definitely not. Maybe even January. And then I think Chelsea's biggest period last season where they really fell off, they started the season well, but from about December till March, maybe late March, they were poor. They lost a lot of games. They didn't win too many. And that really sort of hindered them in terms of doing better than what they did. So if they can fix up through the toughest period of the season, which we all know how tough that sort of festive winter period is, then I think Chelsea can start talking about seriously applying pressure to the teams that are well versed in that.
Dan, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I agree with TKA and what's been said. I think Sanchez will hold them back, but is it Maresca that's pushing this he's got to stay vibe? Because I don't understand why the way Chelsea have been readily available to just go in, out, in, out, in, out, but for some reason stuck with the keeper. Even when you've had the likes of Petrovic, who did brilliantly at Salzburg, and I know he's gone Bournemouth now, but I'd argue there's a case that he could even be similar or at least maybe even better than Sanchez. So, because I don't rate him at all, if I'm being honest. Like, he's okay. Let's not forget he lost his place at Brighton to Jason Steele before he went to Chelsea. So who is it who's making this decision that he's the number one? Strasbourg, sorry if I said that wrong.
It's the goalkeeping coach. I think he's called, his name's like Ben Roberts, I think. And I think he's put a huge amount of trust in Sanchez, and I think he's obviously fighting his corner massively. He's the reason he joined the club, and I think he's the reason he's being backed consistently over all these other keepers. And I think the thing is as well is with a goalkeeper, I feel like their development happens a little bit later on in their career. And I think with Chelsea's transfer model, it's actually not allowed them to go and really test the market for an older, sort of more experienced keeper to come in and challenge. That the only challenges they've really brought in against Sanchez have been younger players than him who aren't probably at their best level yet, or to go and compete and experienced enough to compete. We saw Jorgensen come in for 30 million. We've seen other keepers come in and they've been loaned out. Petrovic, one of them. We've seen Slanina, I think, a young lad come over from America. He got farmed out pretty much straight away. Penders has gone on loan to Strasbourg this season. These guys are coming in as young prodigies and prospects that fit the transfer model. But Mike Maignan was the only name we've seen in about 3 seasons that's a player that could sort of come in and really grab that number one spot. And Chelsea weren't willing to pay more than 10 million, if you believe reports. So I believe it's a mix-up of a goalkeeping coach that's willing to die by this player and he's put his whole career on the line for him. And I think it's the transfer strategy.
Okay.
You know what I'd say about Sanchez is, he obviously went through, especially the first half of the season. I thought he was pretty shocking. I mean, how many goals, how many blunders did he make? But I would say towards the end of the season, maybe the last 8 to 10 games, and then pretty much did he make any mistakes in the Club World Cup? Maybe in the first game, he possibly made one. But I have a feeling that he showed a degree of consistency that we haven't seen from him before. And like you say, development's not linear anyway, but goalkeepers' development can be erratic at the best of times. And maybe whilst I don't have any trust in him necessarily becoming Chelsea's long-term number one, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And I think he will get, it looks like he's going to get this season. And then we'll see, or Chelsea will see where he is. Sometimes there isn't an opportunity out there that you can pounce upon. Maybe Maignan was one of them that if they thought they could get a good price. But if not, maybe they think, you know what, okay, he's not the best goalkeeper in the world. He's far from it. But maybe if he develops a little bit, and again, it depends on what their objectives are. But I don't think Chelsea's objectives are to win the league this season. If he has a good season, he has a decent season, maybe we look at the goalkeeping position as the lowest priority right now. Maybe we look at improving it next season if necessary. And if he makes the required step up and he turns out to be the keeper that this Joe Steele, whatever his name is, the guy you mentioned, if he turns out to be that guy, then we'll see.
I actually completely disagree with all of you. I'm looking at the numbers and the underlying stats, and I think that Sanchez
What about the
can be a
overline
good-
stats that show like 6 errors leading to goals last season?
10 actually. 10,
From
he
what
actually
we expect.
made 10 errors leading to the opposition chance of shooting on goal. 10. Right?
How many did he concede? Probably like 6.
all of these chances were in the first half of the season. None of them happened later.
Okay, but it's
Also,
not like he didn't. The mistakes didn't
That's kind of what I
vanish.
said. That's
Let
kind
me-
of what I
let me-
said.
I don't
okay.
think the mistakes vanished. I just
I think the mistakes vanished.
No, I don't think they did because I watched with my own eyes, and so did Chelsea fans. Because the complaining still went on to the very last game of the season with Sanchez because
Have you-
the mistakes were there, but they might not have been as costly in the second half of the
Yeah,
season.
because have you noticed that it is because Enzo Maresca is asking him to pass the ball too many times, long, or take risks. He's not asking him to pass the easy ones.
No,
that
he
is one.
didn't he say? He said, "If you kick it long, I will substitute you." I'm sure
Yeah,
that
but
was
he's not
He
kicking
said
it
that
long.
to the Leicester keeper.
No.
He said
No,
that
but
to the
he's
Leicester keeper.
He's not kicking it long. He is asking him to pick a player like a dink here, a dink there, which takes time to focus and put the ball under control and do this. How many times I see Sanchez very calm on the ball? The opposition is closing him down and he's trying to pick that dink to the right side or in the middle. I think that is the problem, to be honest with him.
I think Sanchez has a massive issue with on the ball complacency. I actually think his distribution can be okay, but I think on the ball in those moments that you're talking about, where he's making his decision, his thought process probably either isn't quick enough for intelligent IQ, football IQ, or he actually is just complacent, believing he's got more time than what he actually does and thinks he's better on the ball than what he is. And I think that leads to him like making those mistakes because he has to deal with something last minute, or his concentration isn't quite there and he'll slip, or he'll play a pass into an area that's probably a little bit more dangerous than he believed it to be. And I think that's where the mistakes have come from. I actually, to give him credit as well at the same time, because I think we need to do this, towards the end of the last season, in terms of his overall goalkeeping performance away from what he was doing with the ball at his feet, I actually think he was pretty good, and he saved Chelsea in a number of games. He made some really, really crucial saves, as he did in the Club World Cup as well. So I think you've got to give him credit there, and I think that's what Ben Roberts is believing in. And I'll say this over and over again, as an athletic keeper, I genuinely think he might be the best. I think athletically, he's a specimen, and I genuinely think he is probably top of the charts on a number of performance metrics for keepers in terms of what they're seeing in in-depth data for physical output. I genuinely think he is. I think he's the quickest keeper in the league by a mile, because there was that time when Neil Maupay got the ball from him on the halfway line and he recorded the fastest speed in the Premier League that season.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just put out there?
The goalkeeper has the fastest sprint speed.
Yeah, he did. No, he did. There's no denying it. Robert Sanchez is a real top level athlete. He definitely is.
This might sound wild, but I think it's true. And this is what I'm going to put to Mo if you're saying that Sanchez is a good goal. Leeds United have just brought in Lucas Perry from Lyon. He's a better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez.
I don't know who that is.
Lucas Perry from Lyon, the Brazilian.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, but he's a better goalkeeper.
What are you
than-
basing that on? What
What am I basing that on?
Yeah.
That he's a better goalkeeper.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that he has had better performances in the Champions League for Lyon than Sanchez has ever had at Chelsea.
Is that Sanchez didn't play in the Champions League?
No, but this is my point. Why? Because he's
So
not
you
of the
are,
level.
so
He's not of
so
the
you-
level.
So Joe,
Well, Chelsea haven't been though, Joe, have they? Chelsea haven't
No,
been.
but
up
my
the level to
point
be in
is,
the
right?
Champions League.
The point I'm making is there is a
What is-
conversation to be had that there are keepers at clubs that have just been
100%.
promoted that are better than Sanchez. I'm not going to sit here and say, do you know what? He's better than Alisson. He's better than he's not. But Sanchez is not of a level where, put it this way, would any of the other top 6 clubs take Robert Sanchez as their goalkeeper?
No.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe
For
Man
me
United,
personally,
Man United, if you consider them top six. Depends
Yeah.
on-
I don't think United would. I actually
No, I
don't.
don't.
think-
that is an
I don't
argument
think
to be
United
made.
would.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with Sanchez is, for me, and I can give you an example of my club. When we replaced Ramsdale with Raya, I had this feeling of calmness when he was in goal in comparison to Ramsdale, because he had a mistake in him, like, for example, Sanchez has. I think the biggest thing with Sanchez is, and I can imagine Chelsea fans just not feeling this sense of calmness when he's in goal, that anything it's like a ticking time bomb. Anything can happen at any time. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like to be a challenging team, you need to have this sense of calmness with your keeper at least. So you need to have a stable keeper, and I don't believe Chelsea fans have that feeling with Sanchez, because I had the same feeling with Ramsdale, and I can see this situation being sort of the same.
I genuinely think Chelsea should be going after Donnarumma and go and get the deal done. I genuinely think that is something that I think would be achievable. I think with what Chelsea have done in terms of getting back into the Champions League, with winning what they have recently, with the players they've brought in, I think he'd be a top keeper to go and get. Italian manager, Italian player coming in. I just think that would tick a lot of boxes, especially with PSG going to sign Chevalier in goal.
Actually, again, Donnarumma with his feet is shit. He is so bad.
Yeah, but
He doesn't suit the way. And also, let me just tell you, you watch Donnarumma in the Champions League, Dan, and you think that he's making these miraculous saves. Sanchez has made miraculous saves, but let me tell you,
I think he's better than Sanchez,
yes, Donnarumma's stats are worse than Sanchez, and he actually concedes less shots, and his save percentage is lower. His expected goals, he actually doesn't exceed the expected goal against him. Sanchez does, as the goalkeeper that Joe was talking about. I just checked his stats. So he concedes less goal than what you expect him to concede. So that means he saves a lot. Sanchez with his feet is miles ahead of Donnarumma. The problem with people now with analysis that, yes, Donnarumma doesn't make a lot of mistakes this season, but I've watched Donnarumma make abundance of mistakes for PSG before. Cost them Champions
League. If we're being real here, what keeper doesn't make mistakes?
So who's a better shot stopper then? Who's a better shot stopper?
I'd probably go with Donnarumma. I think he's
but he concedes more goals. He concedes more goals per shot than Sanchez.
That might just be to do with where those shots are being allowed to be taken from. You got to go further into the data.
Yeah,
I went further into the data. It's XG, right?
No, the problem.
It's the XG, guys. You do the XG minus the goals you score.
Your eyes don't lie more.
Yeah, the problem with
my eyes don't lie,
but
because I don't wake up every day. I don't wake up every day to watch PSG play football, guys. So I gotta look at the data. I gotta look at this. Is, by the way, I'm not a scout, and I don't work for a club in the Premier League to go week in, week out to scout Donnarumma in 10-15 games, right?
Sanchez is a good goalkeeper.
Yes, of course, but I wake up every day to watch Chelsea, Raya, Alisson, Onana. I wake up to watch these guys. We watch Donnarumma only when he does miraculous saves, right? Miraculous saves. But I've watched him as well over the years. Cost PSG that some of the PSG fans wanted him out. There is a reason why PSG are going for a different goalkeeper now, because Donnarumma is not good with his feet. They are trying to up the level of how they play from the back, which is what Chelsea model is based on. You watch Chelsea, as Dan has alluded to, he never launches the ball forward long unless it's an accurate pass. Donnarumma can do this. Donnarumma can even kick a ball. We can't even pass a simple short pass. So you want him to go to Chelsea when they're trying to build from the back? He might be a good shot stopper, right? But he doesn't know how to play football. And Chelsea doesn't want a goalkeeper like this. Chelsea might up the level with Manyan, who I think is a great shot stopper, and he can play from the back. That is Manyan.
I think there's an issue here where I think people, especially in England, have a clash of ideology around what a goalkeeper should do. And I think first and foremost, the goalkeeper is there to keep the ball out the back of the net. And I think primarily you've got managers now and coaches now that are so focused on what a keeper does with the ball that they've almost forgot what they actually need that guy to do first. And I think most teams would look, and most fans in England would look at a keeper like Donnarumma and feel a lot safer with him in goal than they would with Robert Sanchez. Even with high-profile mistakes on both their parts, I think most people would still go with Donnarumma. I think what he's done at he's a year younger probably than Sanchez. His career is a million miles ahead of where Robert Sanchez has been. for the majority of his career. I mean, he was at AC Milan when I think Sanchez was at Peterborough. So there's levels here, and I think there's a better keeper in Donnarumma. I really do.
Until Donnarumma's being asked to pass the ball and build from the back of Chelsea.
There's a school of thought and an education around Italian goalkeepers that puts them as best in class, if not there or thereabouts. And I think that's been the case for years. I don't think I see that with a number of Spanish keepers.
Football has evolved.
It has evolved, but it doesn't change that Italian keepers are still right up there and are.
They're not. Football have evolved past the way Italian goalkeepers are.
I don't know.
Football have evolved.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
How? Every single club is looking for. Every single club is looking for. Maybe they would rather have a goalkeeper with a 70% shot stopping ability, but a 90% ball playing ability. You gotta go, Joe.
No, I want no.
Rather than having a goalkeeper with a 90% shot stopping ability and a 30% ball playing ability. Most coaches in the world now are choosing the former rather than the latter one.
The question is why
doesn't make them right though.
No, but hold on. It makes them right because it's how football work now.
No, it doesn't.
Ultimately, it's down to the system that your manager puts in place. So when you say, okay, they're picking a ball-playing goalkeeper as opposed to a shot-stopping goal, both of them can work. Both of them can work depending on the system. Now, what is the rationale behind focusing more on ball-playing as opposed to shot-stopping, for example? Ultimately, if you think that you're going to reap bigger dividends for your team, because ultimately you can look at the individual context or whatever, but ultimately as a manager, you're looking at what your team can achieve overall, right? And if you think your team can achieve more overall with a ball-playing centre-back, goalkeeper, full-backs, whatever you want to, it's like the Trent Alexander-Arnold. People say he's a shit full-back, but Jurgen Klopp, and I guess to some extent Arne Slot, they felt that, you know what, he's never going to be the best one-on-one defensive fullback. But what he gives me going the other way is worth that loss in quality, because the quality he gives me going forward, and we're going to be a ball-dominant, offensive, attacking team. We want to play with most of the ball in the opposition half. So the amount of defending he's going to, yes, when he gets caught, he's going to look stupid. When he's going to get caught, we're going to look stupid. But overall, what he gives me going forward is worth much more to me. And that's just down to a judgment the manager makes.
Do you know as well, right? Like, and I probably, this is why I agree with Dan, because I've just spent 2 seasons, yes, admittedly in the league below, with the best defense in terms of. So Burnley had a better goals conceded. They conceded the least in Europe, but in terms of effort on goal, ours was better. The problem was the goalkeeper, Ilian Meslier, when called upon, couldn't save the most simplest of shots. So as a fan watching that, when everything else is perfect, and I get, okay, might be able to spray a ball, etc. But ultimately, and this is where I agree with Dan, a keeper just has to keep goal. All I ask is that when a shot is at you, don't parry it. Just, tip it wide, save it. That's all I ask of you. And I think because I've spent 2 years watching a guy who was constantly throwing stuff in his nets, even though we were dominating, it gets frustrating as a fan, and you just go, do you know what? I just want someone who's going to save a shot, because that's what goalkeepers should be doing. I get at the top end and maybe, like City, Liverpool, whatever, but Chelsea at times obviously struggled. So then that's when you need your keeper to get you out of them.
Yeah, but now you went from Sanchez is making mistakes to shot stopping. Sanchez stats, and when I watch him, his shot stopping is very good. He saved Chelsea lots of points this season. And in the Club World Cup, he was elite in that final. He was world class.
The problem is, unless that stays as a consistent, I don't know if it will.
But he has, Dan.
I think it hasn't actually, because I think there's far more proven time of Robert Sanchez making errors and mistakes in his 27 years of playing football, right? Than there is of him having 6 months. So
how is his save percentage higher than Raya, Ederson?
Because it might have been for that period of time, and you have to go deep. If you look at the save percentage, Okay, so
Also,
you have to
save
look at
percentage is
you
really.
have to look at the types of
No, I
shots that
agree with
Chelsea.
you.
You have to look at the type of shots Chelsea were conceding. You have to look at where they were coming from, who was taking those shots. You have to do exactly the same for Donnarumma. You have to look at the areas where he was conceding shots from, where PSG were allowing players to take shots. There's so much more data you need than just throwing out that one statistic. I think we can all see, and the eye test I think is key for reassurance and being out there on the pitch with a goalkeeper. It's key. You have to look at your goalkeeper and believe in them and trust them. And I think if you bring in Donnarumma, there's an element of trust that's rebuilt for what is supposedly a fee of 26 million. All right, the wages will be high, but that seems pretty low to me for a goalkeeper that I think most would consider being a level up above what Chelsea have already. And if Chelsea don't sign him, by the way, I think another team that we consider a big team in Europe will go after him and get that deal done.
We'll see how it goes, to be honest. We'll see.
Are there even any links to Chelsea? I mean, I'm not out of the loop on that, but
I haven't actually. I just know he's out there and available after PSG signing.
I don't see Chelsea.
Contract.
I don't see Chelsea buying Donnarumma purely because of his wages, because he wants around 300k and he just doesn't fit your
that is
new
crazy
wage structure.
That is crazy. Yeah, that's mad. I don't think
I'm
anybody's going to pay him
surprised
that.
Moore's backed him as much.
You know who signs him on the case of those wages? Probably United. They'll probably go get that done and pay 300k because they don't really care.
I don't think the business they're doing this summer. And okay, they've arguably overpaid a little bit for Mbeumo and Cunha.
Not if Arsenal paid 52 million for Madueke.
Maybe
Not if Elanga's costing 50 million. Right.
But I think it just in the last few years, I think overall the Premier League, the big Premier League teams have got a lot smarter in terms of the wages that they're taking on and stuff like that. I think arguably Kai Havertz at 270 grand or whatever was maybe the last big signing with a questionable reputation.
285.
And I don't. Sorry, you know the details. So what's 15
even
grand a week
crazier,
between
bro.
friends? But I don't think United would go to that that level.
We'll see. Let me do this super chat because I actually want to get Joe's point on something. I am so glad that we have someone here not from the top 6 teams, because I really want to get his point on something, because I haven't succeeded to get someone that doesn't support the top team. And big up everyone that joined us on the Football Terrace, guys. Guys, let's get the likes up. If you're new here, make sure to
doesn't support a top team.
Don't support the top team in the Premier League.
Top 6 team. Top 6 team.
Look, I'm going to show you guys 2 Chelsea fans, like the opposite. Sanchez gets all the microscopic analysis of his play. Meanwhile, Raya does similar or a bit better. If Raya can lead Arsenal to a title challenge, so can Sanchez.
That's wild. They're in totally different stratospheres. Raya's a miles better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez. Miles better. Is anyone disagreeing?
Sanchez is more comparable to where Arsenal were with Ramsdale.
I did have questions. I did have questions about Raya, because I think when he first came in, the first couple of months, I thought he looked a bit shaky. I wasn't super convinced by him at Brentford, but since then, like, he's come in and
he's just a bit
sus
by being off his line. I feel like that's the only time. I feel like he just sort of sits a little bit further off his line than he needs to at times.
But I think that's Arteta's instructions. I don't think that's Raya doing it on his own accord. Yeah.
Based on what? My eyes? Do you know what I mean? My eyes tell me that he's a better goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Based on what? What do you listen? I can't. To the fellow who's put, he's just asked based on what? I can't give you stats in that, but I can watch football and say.
Well, I can give you stats, by the way.
But
I can give you the stats.
Your stats are questionable, then, bro.
I am really. By the way, my stats are based on FB Ref. It's right in front of me on the screen.
I think the noise coming from a club that has a keeper and the noise of so many fans wanting him out throughout the season should tell you enough that not all these fans can be wrong. There's issues with this player. So I think that says everything you need to see, because when Ramsdale was making mistakes, Arsenal wanted him changed. When Ray has come in, the noise hasn't been there for him. because there's an obvious improvement. I think the same could be said for when Petrovic came in for a very brief period when Sanchez was injured. The noise was no longer there. Petrovic was getting his job done, and people thought he'd go in as the season's number one last season, but he didn't. He got put out on loan, had a good season. Now he's got a good move for himself. But I think the noise disappears when a player's an improvement.
Yeah, but with bigger plays, I think Sanchez gets. By the way, I'm just telling you guys, if Sanchez avoids mistakes, which he has been over the last 2-3 months since April or March, if he doesn't do that many mistakes, we're gonna be talking about him in a completely different way. Because Joe's talking about his eyes, I also have eyes. Alhamdulillah, God bless me with eyes and I can see. Right? Alhamdulillah, God bless me with eyes. And now when I'm looking at Sanchez, he's a very good shot stopper. He's taller, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he's faster. Right?
They've got to be about the same height.
I don't know,
He's
but maybe check
faster.
it.
You're talking about his 100 meters time.
No, but I'm going to tell you why faster in this day and age in football again means a lot. When you play in a high line, like what the top teams are aiming to play, your goalkeeper acts like the sweeper now. Off the line may prevent you from losing a game by how quick the player or the goalkeeper gets off the line. We've seen it with Alisson plenty of times. The decision making, when do you get off the line? When do you act like a sweeper? That makes a big mistake. A slow sweeper goalkeeper might actually cost you a whole game.
I was taking the piss a little bit just because you talked about his sprint speed earlier.
Also athletically as well, in terms of you're coming up now against strikers that are so developed athletically in terms of the distance they can create between them and the ground when they jump. The goalkeeper has to be able to match it, if not do better. Although they have the advantage of their hands, they have to be able to compete with these ridiculously athletic players that are coming up against, right? And physically they have to be able to keep themselves sort of commanding in the duel when they go up to win that ball, that they can't be fragile when they lick that. And I think Sanchez in those areas, I think that's where he excels. And I think that's why someone like Ben Roberts, who's got this really good reputation as a goalkeeping coach coming from Brighton to Chelsea and moving for a lot of money, I think that's why he's willing to put his career on a player.
Just to let you know, Dad, David Raya is 6 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Donnarumma.
I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just trying. I'm trying to just.
If I could show you my tabs, I literally have them both out.
Yeah, it's fine. But I question. Like, I'm not saying you're like maybe.
No. I thought you meant Donnarumma, and I was thinking they're like the same height. But no, Raya is really small, to be fair. Like 180.
Exactly. What if Newcastle lose Jackson to Bayern? We're gonna talk about the Isak. I want to get Joe's take on the Isak and how Isak is treating Newcastle. Mo's gaslighting Sanchez is a bozo. Mo knows it, but the mistakes are gone, Dakai. You think I'm gaslighting?
No, they weren't gone, Mo. The capitalization on those mistakes was what disappeared.
What matters at the end? What is Joe? Joe here? Did you go, Joe? Did you leave?
If the mistakes disappear and we're back here next summer, then Dan's going to be a happy man, of course. So, like, it doesn't look like he's going to be replaced.
But would you want to go into a season with that doubt?
Ideally.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Arsenal went into a season and like they nearly won the league if it wasn't for young men's son missing a chance, right? With David Raya that made up mistakes after mistakes in the beginning of the season, but it turned out to be that Arteta was correct at the end. And nobody rated Raya. People said, how dare you bring us David Raya? He's short. He's not dominant in the air. He makes mistakes. He's not quick off the line.
Not at the level, Mo.
His distribution was unbelievable. And that's
it
why...
wasn't as good as now. It wasn't as now it's elite.
It was still really good, though.
Raya, now distribution is elite. Ridiculously elite.
It's almost wrong to suggest it wasn't elite at Brentford. I think it's what got him the move to an elite club in Arsenal. It was his best attribute by a million miles. In the championship at Brentford, was he not absolutely unbelievable in terms of what he was allowing them to do on the ball? I think that's why he ultimately got that reputation that took him to the next level. I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah, and
Bro,
also he had to get used to the team.
I've seen troops, Curtis Shaw. I've seen Arsenal fans lose their shit when they signed David Raya. Lose their shit.
Yeah, but they might have lost
there was
their
a
shit
different
because
context.
It's an uneducated opinion, though, at that moment in time, isn't it? It's the same as Arsenal fans losing their shit over Madueke to the level that they did, because they're making that assumption that he's not very good for the money being spent, but they're making that as uneducated in a way because they're not doing enough research. They just don't like the name Madueke joining the team because it's not enough. It wasn't what they wanted and who they'd hoped for or the level raiser. But to do what they did to sort of make murals about a player joining shows that it's too far the other way. It's doing too much.
David Raya is great. Like, I like David Raya. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper, to be honest.
Yeah,
I like that. But I want to ask Joe a question about this.
Yeah, right.
Forget about Chelsea. Guys, we've spoken an hour on Chelsea. Okay, they play in an hour. Joe, how do you think Isak is treating Newcastle? If that happens to your club, would you be upset if a player has 3 years left at his contract, a team like Liverpool coming out, lowballing when you say, like, for example, let's put it up there. But guys, can we get the likes? It's 150 likes and we have like almost 1,000 people. Can we get the likes up a little bit? Let me ask you, Joe. You have a player that has 3 years left at your contract. He's the star of your team. A team like Liverpool come in and try to get the player. You say the player is worth 80 million. Liverpool bid 50 million. And the player threw a tantrum now. How would you react as a fan?
Yeah, I would be calling him a rat and stuff. I think the way that Isak's... Any player that refuses to train and refuses to play, makes themselves unavailable in that moment in time is a rat. We would call them a rat. We've had it with one of our own this summer, and he's not even that good, but he's still a rat. Because you push him through, it's... At the end of the day, you've got a 3-year contract. And what we also have to take into consideration is that no one was willing to take Isak from Sociedad. He was there. Newcastle gave him, a chance in the Premier League. And yeah, like now, obviously he's gone to crazy levels. But at the end of the day, he's got a contract at Newcastle. And I don't think he's leaving anyway. I don't think they'll allow it, Newcastle. I think maybe next year, because they're having a stinker of a window. If they lost Isak as well, they've got worse somehow, and they were supposed to be getting better. They've just got Champions League again. It's wild. I know players do it, folks, in the chat. Of course they do. It doesn't make it right. Does not make it right. If I said tomorrow, I'd do this as a job. But if you go into work tomorrow and said, listen, I want to go, you can't do that. You're not going to get paid. I think we need to be in a position now where we can start finding players. If I'm honest, if they refused, to train, like at the end of the day, if any of you in your job just went in and went, I'm not doing it anymore, you would be sacked. You would, this. Yeah, and also, like Wild Thing said, it's a disrespect to his teammates as well. Paul Relanga's gone, I can't wait to play with my countryman, and he's going, you're not playing with me, bro. I'm out of here. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't think it's acceptable. Why? Do people think it is? But
yeah, everyone thinks it's fine. You're the only one. Everyone thinks it's fine.
It's wild. No, Tony Flick's saying, so your club is a prison. Well, no, you. All right, okay. So when no one wants you, it's not a prison. But as soon as someone wants you, oh no, now it's a prison. What the fuck are we doing here? He's signed a contract. He has to honor that contract, unless you pay what he's worth. Don't give me this. Isak is a bad guy for having ambition. He's a bad guy for the way he has gone around it.
I think the only thing, Joe, right, is that there's this huge issue the other way. And I think this is why the players are doing this now, because it's not just Isak that's done this and down tools to try and get a move. When clubs don't want a player, they absolutely isolate the player And I think that's what's caused agents to tell their players to act in this manner because of how the clubs treat them. We've seen high-profile cases at a number of different teams. Players are isolated. They train with youth teams. They train on their own. They're not allowed in the same building. They can't eat lunch. They get treated like absolute, like awful people when they actually didn't ever do anything wrong apart from maybe not meet the standards or the exact requirements the club want them to do. And I think that behavior from the clubs to remove players when they want them out the door has basically led to players now doing the same. We're just in this vicious cycle. And I just don't think that's right on either part, to be honest.
You know what I say? We're all hypocrites. Fans, clubs, players. We all want everything our way, and then when it goes against us, we all throw our toys out of the pram. And I kind of understand it, right? I kind of understand it. If Isak was doing this to Liverpool, I would absolutely hate it. I don't love it that he's doing it to Newcastle. I think Newcastle are a good club. They've got good fans, and it's harsh on them. I was happy when in spite of the fact they beat us, I was happy when they won the Carabao Cup because that's a fan base that's been starving for a long time. But we're all hypocrites, and that we will all have players angling to join us, especially the bigger clubs. It will probably happen if you're moving from clubs which aren't as successful because shine lights. But just as easily, we're happy to dispense with players. Fans are out there saying, "Get out of my club." You don't belong here. You're not good enough, and that kind of stuff is also disrespectful in the other way, like sending people stupid messages on Instagram or whatever. It's just.
Do you know what's hilarious as well?
The whole football game is distasteful, and agents and all that kind of thing in the max or in the mix doesn't make it. It just makes it more so, and it's the game. But do
you know what's hilarious? The amount of vitriol that's coming at, say, me for going, well, he needs to go better his career. He should be allowed to leave. Were you all like that for Trent?
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. We're hypocrites as well. We are all hypocrites. We are all hypocrites.
Did you go, oh yeah, nah, let Trent go. He wants to go to a bigger club. No, you didn't. You booed him. You booed him.
Yeah.
So shush.
And do you know what? Trent never once down tools or anything as well in that time. He stayed. Ultimately, the media got on his back and everything, but he stayed professional. And I think Trent actually showed, as much as it probably Liverpool fans didn't feel it was the right way to do it, and he probably did. They felt like he could have renewed a contract and got more money than they did in the end, or that sort of thing. In terms of what he did on the pitch and in terms of doing his job, he was ultimately a professional around that. And I think that's where Newcastle fans don't like what Isak's doing. But I don't think any fan likes it when a player does that to their club. But then at the same time, fans are probably, like you say, a little bit fickle, that they don't like it when a player wants to stay and the club want him out.
Yeah, look, I mean, even on the opposite way, a player like Arsenal signed Madueke. Before Arsenal signed him, Madueke was getting DMs from fans saying, "We don't want you, get out. We're not interested." Horrendous stuff. So I just think the whole football world is a bit of a mess. There's no situation that's going to be exactly the same. Yes, the Trent scenario was a bit different because he was a Liverpool fan and he came through the camp. But ultimately, we still feel hard done by. But I'm a grown man, and the game is the game, and I can't change it. None of us can change it. I look at scenarios. Look at an extreme example the other way. Harry Kane signed that stupid contract with Daniel Levy, and then had by all accounts had some kind of gentleman's agreement because of the loyalty he built up. Daniel Levy just turned around and said, "You know what, motherfucker, you're staying. You're staying."
And then Kane actually behaved like Isak as well, didn't he? He had to stop training and try and force the move. So it's hard. But the one thing I think that's hurting Newcastle fans the most, I think, is a repeat of history again with Cole. I think that is something they're struggling to come to terms with, because I think they've seen their best players leave before to rivals, and it wasn't something that they felt well about or felt happy about, because no one would. It's understandable. But also at the same time, they they felt like they were promised this future of being the best club by being the richest club and all these unbelievable players joining. And like you said a little bit ago, the window's been so poor for them that this only hurts even more. And it's almost a false promise, isn't it? Not just promised by Newcastle, but they've tried to go and sign these players, but the attraction to join that club just still isn't there by the very best players. So I think they're coming to terms with a reality they don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest frustration comes from that at the end of the day. I think whoever this player was, if it was Isak or another player, whoever left, the main frustration is the fact that Newcastle were thinking that they are building this something big, you know what I'm saying? And now they are getting hindered by the fact that they cannot buy players, because at the end of the day, they want the same targets as the bigger teams like Liverpool. And also they're losing their best players. So
okay, say they sell Isak, by the way, which I can see people saying it's Liverpool's Coutinho moment, right? It's Newcastle's Coutinho. If they sell Isak, if they've got Isak, one of the best strikers in the Prem, and they still can't attract players with him in the team, how on earth are they going to attract players if he leaves? No matter how, everyone knows they've got billions to spend, right? No one is going to want to join Newcastle more if they sell Isak. They cannot afford to sell Isak, no matter if it's 150 million.
This is something I kind of questioned the other day. Like, I know when Newcastle were coming off from my Ashley era, and I think we all agree Ashley was a shocking owner, and I think they all of them thought they went from one extreme to the other, to potentially the richest owners in the history of football and all that kind of stuff. And you can argue about PSR. Maybe PSR has curtailed their spending a little bit. I don't know whether they ever actually had the ambition to go like as big as like a Man City did at the start and all that. Whether they could or they couldn't. It seemed like they were trying to be more smart from the get-go. But I don't know, just because like they brought in Ashworth and all this kind of stuff. Like they already had a bit of a recruitment plan in place. But it never struck me that like they were going to go out and spend hundreds of millions of pounds in every given transfer window. So I'm not sure whether maybe they were also sold a dream which maybe wasn't exactly how it was ever going to be with Saudi.
I think Rack, their early recruitment actually mirrored probably what City did under, if you think about like Mark Hughes and the sort of players he brought in, I think it kind of mirrored what Newcastle did. They went and signed good young English talent, Lewis Hall, Livramento. They got Matt Targett in. They got Dan Burn back from Brighton. They went and signed Callum Wilson, who was, players that were on the fringes of the England
Gordon
team.
As well from Everton.
Yeah, but is that what City did when Mark Hughes was manager? I don't think so. Robinho's obviously the kind of
Robinho was the standout at the time, but they signed Gareth Barry, they signed Bellamy, they signed James Milner, they signed Joleon Lescott, they signed players of a similar sort of level. Newcastle went and got Pope, City went and improved the players in that sort of way first, and then they were able to sort of move up a little bit, get themselves away from relegation issues, move themselves up the table, solidify that, and become more attractive by, starting to sign your David Silvers, getting your Vincent Kompany developing as a young, promising player, and then they sort of moved on from there. So yeah, I think Newcastle did act in a similar way to what City did first when they come to money.
I need to refresh my memory on.
I think what happened at City, though, I think City may have jumped from one owner to another. That was a vast. They had an owner that wasn't exactly a millionaire or a billionaire at that time. They then went to a billionaire, and then they went to like a super billionaire. Did that not happen to City? I think.
Yeah, They had that. Was he Thai or was he from the Far East? If I remember correctly,
he was the one that drove the Robinho movement and the other sort of players coming in that were the next level.
Yeah, but he was the first purchase under Abu Dhabi, as far as I remember, because it was like the last few days of the window that all of a sudden he thought he was going to Manchester United, and apparently
I think it was Chelsea.
Can I,
club shop.
Let me weigh in here just a couple of things. I actually see this in two different ways. The first way is Newcastle have a contract with a player. He has 3 years left. If he is to go, someone has to pay the value that Newcastle deem fit. Because if Newcastle want to get rid of Isak and they can't find a club for him and he doesn't agree for a club, same as Jadon Sancho, it's either they have to pay him his contract out, which is he signed with the club, or he has to stay at the club. That is how contracts work, right? I can't fault him for wanting a bigger club. What I don't understand is how Newcastle project went from being one of the most attractive or whatever, like everyone's thinking, to nobody wants Newcastle. But my problem is with Newcastle fans who are now thinking that, listen, we're a big club. Just because you got a new owner doesn't mean you are as big as the others. Newcastle fans say, we need to spend. I am sure that before the takeover, Newcastle fans were with PSR. We don't want the clubs that are rich to spend. We want it to be limited. We want this and that. That's why I think Newcastle fans, because they tasted the money, now they're acting this way. Because they think their club has money, they're acting this way.
We're all hypocrites.
That's
we're
the
all
thing.
hypocrites.
I am telling you now, if Newcastle now were not like with rich owners and they have a player that broke through like Isak, like a lot of clubs like Baleba, for example, for Brighton fans would tell you, because they know their owners are not as rich as Newcastle, yeah, bring me 100 million, we'll sell you Baleba. We want the money to build a better squad. But Newcastle fans, because they tasted the money, because they know their owners are not the richest, they want to act like the big clubs and they want to attract the big players. And they actually, you know what? Fuck around and find out. Basically, Newcastle went and shopped with the big clubs and they found out. Basically.
Yeah, so now they need to go. They need to go back. They need to go back to what's worked for them in recent years, where they've attracted a Tonali, they've attracted a Bruno, they've attracted Isak, obviously coming in as it was a gamble.
Man,
like Joe said, that's it, right? But these were promising players who were, potentially looking at a move. You know how Kudus ended up going to like West Ham, but he was linked with bigger clubs, but he took that move. That's where Newcastle need to go and sort of shop in that market where the player could go to a mid-table club. Yeah.
I'd argue, though, that even in the last couple of years, Premier League recruitment's improved significantly. Like, everyone's got analytics departments now, everyone's got stats networks and stuff. So I think it, just like people say, Liverpool's recruitment model of yesteryear, I think it is more difficult. Like there's more people trying to do that. There's more people trying to extract maximum value.
I don't disagree, by the way.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but
but then you look at certain clubs, right? And I think Chelsea's one of them, that they look at, and what they were doing first before they sort of got things in place were they were looking at who Brighton were being linked with. They were looking at who teams that have got like a reputation for being great in recruitment were looking at, and they were going in there as the bigger fish and throwing their weight around and getting rewarded for it. I think Newcastle need to do the same. If they hear on the grapevine that a player who they sort of like the look of is in talks with one of these clubs that's sort of renowned with having great recruitment, go in there, offer more money, which they can do, and get there ahead of, your Bournemouth or your West Ham and go and compete with that. Because I think actually that's probably what Spurs have been doing, and they've managed to get some good players in that way. So I think that's what they need to do.
Someone put in the chat, Mo, Newcastle played Champions League, bro. In the history of the sport, Newcastle played 3 times in the Champions League, bro. Just have some shit, bro.
Is this the worst window from a Champions League side in terms of being able to attract players, though?
Never seen something like ever.
That's crazy.
I've never seen something like this in my life, Dan.
You're
willing to spend the money, Dan, and the
there?
players say, I don't know. There has to be something going very wrong in the background that every single player on earth doesn't want to join Newcastle with Champions League football.
Yeah, no, but
everyone is saying there's something wrong.
But Mo, they're going up against they're going for elite talent, and the other elite teams are going for them. And Newcastle are a big club. They're a good club. They've got a good fan base. They've got an amazing stadium, but they're not an elite team. And so it's kind of understand. Like, okay, let's look at it player for player. All right, Chelsea went for João Pedro. It was Newcastle and Chelsea. Chelsea got him. Man United went for Cunha. They were interested in Cunha. Man United. Bueno. Yeah, so it's not like they're going up against a Brighton, for example. They're not going up against or West Ham or whatever. They're going up against the top teams, and some of those other top teams do have Champions League football, like Chelsea.
Yeah,
Man United is a unique example, but Man United are arguably one of the top 2 teams in English football.
Man United is
despite the
exactly
fact
what
they're low.
Newcastle don't have, Rack, isn't it? It's their reputation that levels them above in those discussions.
Exactly.
Do you think? Okay, so let me just throw a couple of scenarios out here because I can't. I needed to speak to other people about this because I've been listening to TalkSport, I've been listening to shows, and no one's really sort of discussed this with Newcastle because I think this is huge. I don't think enough's being said because they have money that they can issue in terms of wages. They can spend now without sort of restrictions that they couldn't do for the last couple of seasons. Is it Eddie Howe? If they sacked Eddie Howe, and got in a manager of a higher caliber or a better reputation, would players then suddenly start to sort of think more about that? Because I personally think, I look at it and I think Eddie Howe is the reason that players aren't entertaining this move. I genuinely, that's
Wow.
Let me
Wow.
before we switch. There's someone that sent 2 super chats. By the way, my friend, I always read super chats and I always read even normal comments as well. But the conversation is going, so it's hard. Once we finish, I'll do the super chats. How is Isak a rat? It's a short career. He wants to win trophies. Newcastle are being offered a British transfer record. It's the football ecosystem. That is for Joe.
Yeah, so what I would say is, Matty, and I know it's difficult for you to do it in this moment, but imagine it was happening at your club. I'm assuming you're a Liverpool fan, right? Hence why you're so against this. If this was happening to you specifically and your club, you would not be saying, oh, but he just wants to win. It's an ecosystem. And as for it being a British transfer record, okay, yeah, in 5 years' time, there'll be another record broken. It is what it is. That's not the big deal here for me. Ultimately, if you want him, then pay what they're asking. Pay for what they're asking then. If they want 150, pay it. If it's less than that, then tough shit.
I agree with you. But apart from the pay what they want, we don't have to pay what they want. We have to reach an agreement.
Okay.
We don't have to pay.
So my point
we have to somehow meet somewhere that we feel comfortable.
Okay, which is fair enough, but this point is almost as if as soon as it became a British record transfer, Newcastle should go, oh, well, it's a British record. Now we must sell him. No, that's not how it works.
Sure, I agree. That's fair.
The problem, I know who raised the first one I spoke to that raised this problem, and I think he's completely wrong, is Hussam. When Hussam said it's a British record, and I'm telling you why it's a British record is wrong, because I gave him one example. If someone goes to Man City and offer 115 million pounds for Erling Haaland, that is but is he worth 115? No, he's worth more than this. A British record doesn't mean that's what he's worth. No. But I agree with Rack 100%. They need to reach an agreement, not force Newcastle's hand. If they reach an agreement that they're both happy with, that is fair enough. But my problem with what Liverpool's approach is, Newcastle said 150. Liverpool said, we know that the player wants to go. We know that he's not training. Here is 110. I know that it's got rejected. But now, by the way, it's reported that Liverpool are going to offer 110 plus 10. So they're only going to up 10 million only. That is what is reported.
And it's a British record. It's a British record.
Exactly. But the problem is, we know, and I know that Liverpool fans know this, right? I can't fault the player for wanting to win trophies now. He's 25 years old. But also twisting teams' arms because the player is throwing a tantrum, that is what I believe is wrong in football. Especially if a player signs a 3-year contract. Because players themselves, if the clubs want them out, like Man United want players out, they can't just take them out. Someone has to pay the wages because Man United, as a football club, agreed to sit down with the player, sign a contract. Chelsea, for example, for Raheem Sterling currently, Chelsea are the ones responsible to fix the situation with Raheem Sterling because you willingly signed the contract with him. You can choose not to make him play for his team. It's up to you. That is your choice. But you are obligated to pay him his wages. Am I wrong? Like, clubs cannot say, by the way, Mo, we're not paying you the wages. You signed the contract to pay me a wages for 5 years or 3 years. You have to honor this contract. It goes both ways. That is our point.
Is it fair what Chelsea are doing to Raheem Sterling?
No, it's fair as long as you're. By the way, it is fair as long as you're paying him wages.
Why you reckon it is?
No, but
I don't
you
know
also have
you also
have employment law, right? You also have employment law. You can't have things like constructive dismissal. You can't treat players employees in a certain way, right?
I hear you, but let me tell you, what if they signed a 5-year contract with Raheem Sterling and Raheem Sterling is not playing up to the level? He's on the pitch, he's walking. He's not actually following instructions. You never know. The reason why Maresca, there has to be a reason why Maresca. Okay, I disagree with banishing him to the youth. Let him train, but don't play him. Don't pick him in the team. Pep Guardiola have done this with a lot of players, by the way, right? Because he's an employee. You can't destroy his career.
Sterling was our best performing winger.
I don't know. There is a reason why Enzo Maresca doesn't want him in the club.
There was Conor Gallagher, obviously, that season as well, got outed and just sort of sent to the cold when the club didn't want him anymore. And that's what I'm saying. I think we have to remember here that this is why players are going the opposite way to their clubs, because they know they're just as vulnerable to be treated like that when the club wants them out. And I think
it goes both ways, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways. But Rack's right. The whole footballing world needs maybe.
I have a very simple solution for this.
I want to hear it.
I have a very simple solution.
Because it needs an intervention. I
have a very simple solution for this. Clubs should be responsible for the players they sign and the scouting. You sign the players. You can only register players up certain. For example, anyone above 21, you can only register these players, and you can only have number of players under contract at your club. It is your responsibility to find a club for them. For example, if Chelsea have 30 players or 35 players, that is the limit. For you to be able to sign another player above that age, you need to be able to sell the player. That is what I believe. That is what it's protection for the club, and it's protection for the player. You scouted a player. You signed him on a 9-year contract. It is your responsibility to develop him, to play him, or find a suitable club or find an agreement with him to let him go. It's either you pay him the wages, or you pay him compensation, or you find another club. But the problem is clubs are allowed to sign unlimited players as long as they are within the PSR or the financial rules, right? So Chelsea can sign 80 players as long as they are within the financial rules. And the rest of the players they don't want, they can bash them, put them on the side.
But Chelsea's probably not the best example, because Chelsea's maybe an extreme example because of the volume buying thing that we talked about earlier, right? Most other clubs don't buy at that level, that quantity or that volume of players. So I understand that maybe that would curtail Chelsea's spending or Chelsea's recruitment to some extent.
Or Man United.
But for the vast majority of teams, it wouldn't. Like for Arsenal don't sign, generally speaking, a huge amount. Leeds, I don't know as much about Leeds, but you guys probably don't sign huge quantities of players. I don't think Liverpool do. Does Inter?
No, but you hear the point about, imagine if Chelsea are obligated, either you play Raheem Sterling or you sell him.
Okay, so let's look at United.
I want to move on. By the way, there's 20 minutes left for the game, and I want to move on.
Okay, all right.
Okay, cool. Just quickly, right? United is probably the closest example. They have outed Rashford, they've outed Anthony, they've outed Garnacho. All these players have been at different times have been asked to train away from their squad, from their friends, from their teammates. Imagine, like, just because you didn't do your job very well one day, they don't sack you. They just go, oh, by the way, you're not allowed to work in the same office today. You've got to go over there. You can't eat lunch.
Am I getting paid? Am I getting paid?
So what if you're getting paid? Because there's a humane level where that just isn't right. That isn't the way to treat someone when you've actually hired them and you've asked them to do the job. And maybe you were wrong for believing they could do better than what they're actually capable of doing, but you should take responsibility for that.
Hence my solution, Dan. You're only allowed to. Hence my solution.
I just don't.
Man United, for example, Man United are not allowed to put 3 players on the side and sign other 3 players and bash these players. Maybe that is the solution. It's either you sell them, loan them out, or play them, because otherwise your squad will be short. Let me do this.
I think there needs to be a law that comes in that doesn't allow clubs to treat players in the manner that they do.
But it has to go both ways. And players as well.
I think that then will. Well, okay, maybe you put regulations in both ways, but I think that will ultimately fix the issue. I think it will. I think players won't need to act that way if they're not treated that way.
Honestly, I think it's unfixable. I don't see us. I don't know if there's ever, because sport is such a unique thing, right? Like compared to a regular job, and I don't know if you can put specific laws in place for football that you don't have for like working in office. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but how do you do that legally? I don't know.
I wanna let me just read the super chat to respond. Big up, Prax. Only Liverpool fan admitting hypocrisy. Big up, Prax. Tanya saying we're dumb, bro. Tanya saying, big up, bro, we're done, bro. Colwill is a massive hit. We'll see today what happens. Matt here is coming back on Super Chat saying, big difference. Trent is a scouser and orchestrated a free move. Isak is going to go for a British record, so there is no comparison. What is he on about?
I mean, the behavior is still the same. They're both okay. Let me just say this.
And easier response to this. It's easier response.
Yeah, it is a very easy response because they're both doing the same at the end of the day.
But you're playing on Trent being a scouser. Trent, as a human being, didn't do anything wrong other than he said, I'm not going to sign a contract. The only problem that Trent did is he should have come out early and said, I am leaving for free. Same as Mark Gahey for Crystal Palace. You know, Crystal Palace, Mark Gahey told Crystal Palace, I'm not signing any contract. It's either you sell me now or I'm playing this year for free. Trent should have done this, in my opinion. That is the mistake that he did.
Even if Trent came out public, like Trent, after he came out publicly and said it, he got booed. Like this is why I mean I don't think there's any solution. If players come out publicly and say early, they still get criticised. If they keep quiet and do it and then just sneak out the back door, they get criticised. There's no solution to this.
They're better off fronting it though. They're better off fronting up and then acting professional afterwards. They are 100% better doing that.
What Trent did wrong is that he hid. He didn't address the fans. He didn't address the media. That's what I think.
The only
but
thing
he did gave it his all until the end.
He did. But the only thing is, obviously, with coming out early and fronting up, is that if something isn't done in the background already, like the contracts aren't signed elsewhere, you know, it can cause like an obvious issue in terms of other teams sort of jumping in front and sort of
every mistake though. But even if you come out publicly and say every mistake that happens, like I remember there was a mistake against Arsenal or somewhere where that was against United, where he just let someone kind of drift in from the right hand side, and everyone's he's obviously off to Madrid. He doesn't care anymore. And if he would have announced. And if he would have announced 6 months prior to that he was leaving, people would have still said the same thing. It's just they would have known that he was leaving anyway.
Let me do these two super chats, guys. Newcastle don't have the worldwide freedom or generate the money to be considered a big club. Even with rich owners, I consider them Dortmund type of a club. That is true. That is why they need to build.
Disrespectful to Dortmund, to be honest with you. I think that's incredibly disrespectful to Dortmund.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Okay, fair enough. My man here, McGregor, thank you so much. Joe, all clubs can imagine it. All clubs have to trade to spend under PSR. Newcastle knew Isak wants to go. Good deal. Liverpool and Isak bad. Plays out until replacement is found. Deal already done.
I just want to add on that though. I understand that it happens, but my point is, you didn't react positively when people say, "Oh well, Coutinho did it to us." Right? Okay. And how did you react at that time? Did you go, "It's okay, he's allowed to leave"? No, you didn't. That's my point. Hypocrisy, like's been said. It is what it is. We're all fickle. I called Mateo Joseph a rat because he wouldn't train. He's gone to Mallorca on loan. If he comes back and scores 5 goals next season, I'll be, Joseph. It is what it is.
I'm not like that. I will call it for every club.
Yeah, but you're neutral, eh?
No, even for Inter, if a player throws a tantrum under contract and doesn't act professional, that player is in the wrong.
Oh yeah, I get that.
It doesn't matter if it's my club, your club, any club. There is avenues.
If it's to yours, you mean?
I agree. There is something that I was sent yesterday, and I admit I was wrong. That he actually told Newcastle he wants to go a year ago, and Newcastle hid it. If that happens, alas, he's not in the wrong. He told them, "I want to go to play. I want to win Champions League, and I want to win the Premier League." He's not wrong.
I mean, but they were also confirmed that he was not for sale,
let me finish. I need to finish. But it's the way he went about it. If he comes out and said, "You promised me I will go," like Eucharist and his agent, Sporting Lisbon on the spot, they said, "You promised us to live for this money. You are lying to everyone." As of now, Isak officially, or his agent, hasn't come out and said Newcastle promised that we would leave. He hasn't. So the journalists are saying that they promised him to leave, but there is no factual news coming from his side, and it's up to you to believe. Like Eucharist, The Sporting Lisbon president said that we didn't promise him to go. His agent and Eucharist said, no, you promised us to go. We have the messages. We have everything. We have the meetings. Everything is recorded that you wanted us to go. But you get my point, Track. Like, as of now, Isak looks like the bad guy. Like, in front, Isak looks like the bad guy. That's why it keeps coming out that he told him a year ago that he wants to go. Okay. Why this wasn't the case a month ago? Why a month ago no one told us that Isak informed him a year ago? Hence the transfer request is being requested. Like, new information keep coming out as there is, and I'm just going to say this, there is a whole situation now, or a whole play to try to polish Isak's image in front of people. Why didn't this come out a month ago? That he informed him a year ago that he wants to go. Why now? Why after it got heated now?
Yeah,
that is my question. These are the questions that people need to ask.
Bro, they said he was not for sale, and they also said another story about he wanted a higher wage. He wanted more money basically, and they didn't give him that money, and now he wants to leave. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, like there is different stories, TK. Yeah. That is the problem. Like, and I hear it from a neutral. Like, you look at it outside, I'm like, okay, which story is the right one? Did he want to leave a year ago, or did he want more money, or was he willing to stay if there is Champions League? Which one is correct? I don't know. But I know one thing: Liverpool are not in the wrong in terms of wanting the best player. Every big club, they go to the small fish and say, "I want your player."
This is the best type of transfer that can happen, in my opinion. I love it when two Premier League giants are going at each other to try and sign. Like, this reminds me of, obviously, like Torres moving between Liverpool and Chelsea. Reminds me of even Raheem Sterling when he went from Liverpool to City. I love these. Van Persie. I love these sort of transfers. These are, I think, as good as it gets in a transfer window.
I did not like the Van Persie, but I do hear what you're the other way.
Harry Kewell.
Joe, I'm actually good for the redirect. McGregor here is saying the real story is multi-level incompetence at Newcastle. They knew and agreed he would go ages ago. They messed up everything since. And I think if that is the reality, Newcastle fucked up. They hid it. They didn't tell anyone. Because Rak, you were here last April and March. We were doing shows with remember, Dio, Arsenal fans. Isak is the dream. And we used to say, Newcastle said he's not for sale. He's not leaving. If Newcastle get Champions League, he's staying. You remember? You remember these shows?
I thought that. I thought that too.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
Newcastle informed everyone on earth that if they get Champions League, Isak is not for sale.
Yeah,
that's
and also,
basically what happened.
Another context: he was our dream target, the board's dream target. They told us firmly that he was not for sale, so we went for Sesko and Gyökeres at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? They were firm that he was not for sale. So this whole story is
exactly what happened.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. And Matty here is saying Craig Hope confirmed it. I get it. So why Craig Hope confirmed it now, while in the beginning of the window, Matty, and I know you are a Liverpool fan and you want to believe what you want to believe, right? Why in the beginning of the saga, it's not like the Arsenal saga. The Arsenal saga, day one, he was promised to go, Eucharist. Day one in the saga. Eucharist is promised to go. Isak, in the beginning of the saga, Rak is a Liverpool fan, guys. Rak, in the beginning of the saga, did anyone say that Isak informed him a year ago that he wants to go? Did you hear that?
That's only come out in maybe the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Something like this. And the story changes, Matty. You believe it now. Why didn't Craig Hope himself say that? Why didn't? Well, Rak is, I think, gone like a bird came in and a helicopter.
Yeah, I think Craig Hope came by. Yeah.
Craig Hope did it, bro. Craig Hope did it. Fonzie saying, billionaires crypto CEO, we need money for Isak, please. That is for Rak. I wanted to ask a question. Okay, since I haven't spoken to Joe, guys, for like a while, by the way. Do you still back Arsenal, Joe, and Arteta, especially after this?
It's funny, man, because I was on a stream yesterday with the gal on Potsies, and I was sort of backing up a gal because obviously he gets a lot of stick. Look, it has to happen this year because they've got the missing piece of the jigsaw. We've been told season after season that the missing piece of the jigsaw is the striker. Okay, the left side needs improving, but we can't do it. Oh, well, we didn't get a left winger. No, come on now. You said you needed the striker. You've got the striker. You've got the one that a lot of Arsenal fans wanted in Gyökeres, more so than Sesko. And I think Arteta might have preferred Sesko. So, fans got what they wanted. I don't know how true that is, but just based on what I've seen and heard.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, so they have to do something this year. However, there is also a way in which you lose. And what I mean by that is, when Liverpool were finishing second to City, still getting 90 points, that can't be helped. Sometimes someone's just better than you. If Arsenal come second and lose like that, then we can't be asking. But they can't regress. For me, and I've backed Arteta for a period of time, but the 22-23 team is light years away from this team.
Yep.
It seems to be going backwards, but you've got better players. And I don't know if that's because obviously Arteta's got more of his claws in him, clearly prefers this style of play as opposed to, this more conservative control possession kind of thing. It wasn't like that in 22-23, was it? Odegaard was on smoke, so was Saka, etc. But yeah, look, I still think that Arsenal will challenge. I still think Arsenal will go far in the Champions League. He needs to win something this year, though, even if it is. And I know Arsenal fans will forgive me for saying this, even if it is a Carabao Cup, but he needs to leave with something, because I made this point before, and rightly so. Callum said to me, but Joe, Klopp left with something at least. Even if they finish second, he still would have won something that season. And I guess that is the difference. So he has to do something this year. Otherwise, I fully get why Arsenal fans.
Do you believe he's going to do something? We all know what you said, Joe.
Right.
It's something that Rack can say.
Do I think they can win the league?
Yes.
Yes.
You think Arsenal are good enough now to win the Premier League?
I'm not saying they're my favourite, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Joe, if I see what you're saying here, and I kind of agree with you that Gyökeres is good enough to go and do something for Arsenal. He probably is the missing piece of the jigsaw, right? But if that's the player that Arteta didn't want, and he didn't get specifically who he wanted, does it give him an excuse?
I suppose it'll give the manager an excuse, but it won't give the fans an excuse. You know what I mean? Arteta can say, no, what I mean by that is if Arteta's sacked, he can say, well, they didn't give me the striker that he asked for. However, that's not an excuse. You've got what you've been given. This happens in football at the end of the day. Some managers don't want certain players. Tough shit.
I mean, at the end of the day, if one position is the reason why you couldn't win the league, you know what I'm saying? I think that's a red flag in the first place. The fact that the manager needs every position handpicked, perfect, you know what I'm saying? Creme de la creme. I feel like that's a red flag in itself.
Do you think it's
but
kind
when
of crazy?
Mikel Moreno, as your striker, that's, it's not.
It depends if Arteta was sort of sitting there going, I don't want another striker. And then they sign him one. And then obviously that's where I think it gets a little bit blurred. But when it's like you're getting a striker that's good either way, and arguably the fans probably think you got the better one, then really I see what you're saying. It kills the excuse. But I just think Arteta might be the sort of manager that creates an excuse there. We might never hear it publicly, but in like his next interview, he'll say, they didn't give me who I asked for. So that's something I'd want going forwards, is to be, if I request a player, I would want them.
I mean, at the end of the day, we did with Havertz, we did with others as well. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we needed some spice in this team.
So why
we cannot
did it
just
stop?
buy ball-playing players.
If he's always been given the player he wanted, why now? Is this to do with Berta? Is this the reason it stopped?
Because we got outpriced by Leipzig. I think it's just as simple as that.
Then United just went and got him for the same price you paid for Gyökeres, no?
They paid more, I think. They paid more.
We paid 53 million pounds.
Okay, so what, 10 million? 10 million potentially is where they drew the line.
20, 25, 30 million.
It just seems very strange to me that if Arteta wanted Sesko and Amorim definitely probably would have preferred Gyökeres, how have they ended up at the opposite managers' clubs? I just think that just seems silly that that's what happened there. To be honest. I know you say money, but It just doesn't make sense to me because money wasn't an issue
Arsenal
for Man
didn't
United.
value, but Arsenal didn't value Cisco at 90 million euros.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but
And
Arteta
also, we
did,
had
didn't he?
talks before, like 2 years ago, even with Leipzig, like 1.5, 2 years ago. And we already like talked about a fee around 60, 65. And then they upped it like to 80 to 100 million. And the board was like, nah, we're not going to do this. And
Arsenal were
also,
only willing to pay 70 million, not
Yes,
90 million.
and also-
That's 20 million difference.
the Leipzig board and the agent of Sesko said that he liked the way that he was dealing with Eto and with Edu because of the fact that they were actually willing to pay that money, but Berta wasn't. So at the end of the day, it was not only money, it was also clashing of relationships because they didn't like how Berta did his business with them because he wasn't as willing to pay the money as Edu and Eto did. So
do you think, like, as a panel, I'll put this out there, do we think that Arsenal are more likely to win the league with Gyökeres than they would have been with Sesko?
I think so.
I can't. I honestly don't have an answer for you, bro. I can't. I don't know.
I haven't watched any of them closely enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really don't know, and I just wondered what people's thoughts are.
I mean,
on that.
Sesko is a coin flip at the end of the day. With Gyökeres, you know what you get. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how Sesko is going to be at United. Who knows? He's going to he'll score 20, or maybe he'll struggle like Højlund did or other players. You know what I'm saying? So Sesko is a coin flip at the end of the day. And for a club like Arsenal, who finished second 3 years in a row, we needed ready-made players who can actually go out and deliver straight away instead of waiting 1 or 2 years. That's why we didn't go for Xavi Simons and we want Eze instead. You know what I'm saying? Because he's also 27 years old, does Premier League proven, knows what you know what you get at the end of the day. And we need those kinds of players, despite who the manager is. And I feel like, and I just want to throw this out there, I think Berta just got Gyökeres as well, because he also knows that the lifespan of Arteta at this club is not as long as people make it out to be. I feel like the players look uninterested these days. In the preseason, they look very tired. It's almost like they had no time off. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like these players are very uninterested at this moment in time. And if Arteta drops points to the point that we are like 4th in October, December, January, there could be some uncomfortable conversations about Arteta possibly.
Bro,
maybe
I think
leaving this
Arteta's got to outlast Berta. He's got to outlast.
No.
I don't think so.
He just won't go away.
I think
won't go. He won't
I think
go.
Arteta's got this season, I think, to win one of the big two. And if he doesn't, then I think serious questions will be asked. Fan base, also internally, because Berta has come in. Berta is the new director of football. Is Arteta Berta's man? We don't know.
Arteta's the Kroenke's man. We all know this because he makes the money. Fans in the stadium. Gyökeres shirt is sold out everywhere.
But you know what the thing with,
Love the
fans, we say we want stability, but we don't. We want to see progressive improvement, right?
Yeah.
In a way, improvement or it gets fans excited or angry, or and decreases in form get fans kind of excited or angry. When after a while, when you're stable, fans just get itchy. They want excitement. They want anger. Look at Arsene Wenger. They didn't get Champions League football the last couple of years, but even before that, when they were getting consistent Champions League football, because they weren't challenging really, Arsenal had a period of they were consistently getting top 4, but they didn't challenge for like 10 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Yeah, I see your point.
Also, can I add this as well?
Joe, by the way, I know you have to go.
Yeah.
Just before I do,
yeah.
Leeds United Conference League. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and can I add one more thing before you move on?
We're almost ending because that Chelsea game is about to start. So I know an Inter game as well. I want to watch Inter as well.
Okay, just one small thing. If Wenger got the same amount of love that Arteta got when it comes to getting the players that he actually wanted for the amount of monies and blah, 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 for the exact positions, hand-picking everything, at least Wenger would have won me a league or two with that amount of money spent. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the things that Wenger did, we cannot compare with Arteta in any way, shape, or form, because Wenger did not get the same love when it comes to financial investment like Arteta at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And Arteta would not have done the same things that Wenger did with those teams, with those players. I feel like it's not even comparable. If Wenger got this exact team, he would have won me the league. That's what I actually believe.
Yeah, well, 100%. Listen, people, I want to thank everyone that stuck with us here. It is time now for the Chelsea game. We're about to start on the Inter game as well. Thank you, Dan, for being here. Dan's channel in the description. This will take you to Joe, actually, right? This will take you to Joe's channel. And probably I will see you guys later today, or I won't. I actually don't know yet. Thank you, Rak, for being here with that beautiful, beautiful view. Appreciate you, TK, for being here. I will see you guys soon. Make sure to hit that like button, people, before you go, because you guys are slagging off on the likes. We're not even on 300 likes. I will see you guys soon, and we're out of here, people.